That it came into the smartphone world, Samsung was right off the Note 7 debacle. These things needed to be a hit. Now, while it is the end of the product life for the S8, it's not necessarily the end of when you should buy it. There's going to be crazy deals that are going to go on when the S9 comes up, and the S9 looks to be sort of an S version type upgrade. Sort of fix some small quibbles and small complaints with the almost perfect S8 and S8 Plus, and for the sake of this revisited, I'm mostly just going to say S8 because the phones are pretty much identical, save for screen size and a little bit different size in battery. So first, the S8 got rid of the Edge version of phones we saw with the S7. It was just the S8, and they brought in beautifully marketed term Infinity Display. And Samsung displays are absolutely incredible, and they did a gorgeous job this time around. The big knock I had with previous Samsung displays is they look great when you were indoors. As soon as you stepped outside in direct sunlight, they got completely washed out and almost invisible. Samsung fixed that this time around. The display gets incredibly bright. Don't buy into the marketing hype of how many nits brightness it is. That's really just how bright one single pixel can get. But from a real user standpoint, you can use this phone in outdoors. These are obviously the best screens that Samsung had made before the Note came out. They're pretty much identical. But the Infinity Display, while looking nice, has still been far from perfect in my use. Oftentimes I was activating the Edge panels by accident. That was relatively annoying to have. Sort of I had to turn them off so I wouldn't accidentally activate them. It also makes the phone a little bit on the fragile side since the screen curves around and the front and back are completely coated in glass. In fact, as we documented on video, I cracked my S8 Plus pretty badly, and I was sitting down and it fell on an uncarpeted floor. So I don't know, was it like 2.5 feet-ish? It fell and completely shattered the screen. So it was definitely more fragile than most people liked, and that fragility also goes through on the back. In fact, I used my S8 Plus in the office without a case, as I mentioned, and without any skin on the back, and you can see what the back looks like. It looks totally gross and disgusting. So if you pick up a current gen Samsung phone, whether it's the Note, the S8, S8 Plus, even the S9 when it comes out, I recommend putting a dbrand skin on that to keep the scratches down, also give it some protection. We'll link to it down below in case you want to check those out. It also marked the first time Samsung got rid of their capacitive buttons and opting for on-screen buttons for navigation. I love that change. I also love that you can customize it a little bit, whether or not you want the back button on the left or the right, give you more flexibility than what you had with sort of those buttons that were always in the same area. Sort of rounding out the awesomeness that the S8 was, the cameras were absolutely incredible. And this was before the Pixel 2 and before the iPhone 10s. These were the camera kings. They were absolutely incredible. Obviously making do with single sensors. They did an incredible job with portrait mode, so by that I just mean blurring the background. They brought a ton of effects. The pictures look gorgeous in almost any setting, albeit a little bit saturated, but I tend to prefer it. And they give you a lot of granular settings if you want to get in and tweak those. These cameras were beyond awesome. On the video side, the video also looked great. The microphone could use a little bit of improvement. I think that's the case with almost all smartphones, but really good. I think Samsung did a really good job with biometrics. Obviously there wasn't sort of Face ID type technology when this phone came out, but the redundancy is absolutely incredible. You've got iris scanning, you've got kind of a rudimentary face unlock, you've got PIN or passcode, you've got options in different layers, and of course, the fingerprint sensor on the back as well. I liked that there were options that you could pick and choose from. But coming to the things that I didn't like. So speaking of biometrics, the fingerprint reader on the back. I've talked about this ad nauseum. I'm not gonna sort of harp on it. I hated the location of the fingerprint sensor. Maybe you guys had other issues, said it didn't bother you with case on. For me, I did not like the location. In fact, I never even used a fingerprint reader because of that. Another thing I didn't like was the single downward facing speaker. I often found myself covering it when I was playing games, listening back to movies or just watching content. It was really annoying, sort of the location of it. If you're watching something like this, you're playing a driving game, you gotta make sure you're moving your finger all around. And I should mention, both of those things look to be improved when the S9 finally hits. And of course, rounding out the other stuff I didn't really like or even use, Bixby and that Bixby buttons. It's a goodbye to the S8 and the S8 Plus. It's an incredible phone, and if you have one, it'll probably be good to even skip the S9 and wait until the S10 hits. But it's got great battery life, the screen's incredible, the camera's great on it, it's got that fast charging, it's USB-C. Everything about these phones I've absolutely loved. And I want to sort of pour one out for the S8 as sort of it gets overshadowed very soon